Greetings and welcome to this special episode of the Elevate podcast today at the Better Way conference in Bath. Working today with Oracle Films to produce this special episode of the podcast, where I'm joined and delighted to be joined by Dr. Maria Hubmer-Mogg, where we're going to discuss what brought you here to be part of this conference, what you're seeing happening in the world right now, and hopefully an inspirational message for the future of how we move forward. What brings you to the Better Way conference here in Bath this weekend?
First of all, thank you for the compliment. I'm really honored by that, and I love to have this interview with you. As you said, I'm here at the Better Way conference because I'm part of the steering committee of the World Council for Health, so that's why I'm here. And what brought me on this journey? Well, I was into various topics years ago already, so I got to know the little big tree and the high wire. So early in 2020, I was watching, as always, his weekly show, and I saw there's something wrong. So that was my luck. I got all the information that I needed because I felt already there's something going on, and I think there's something wrong with it. So I became active.
Yes. And you're a doctor. Tell us a little bit about your background in terms of your profession.
Yeah, so I studied medicine in my hometown in the south of Austria, in Graz, and I became a general practitioner, and I had various specifications like in emergency medicine, also in palliative medicine and nutritious medicine. So before I got pregnant, I was having a private practice also, and I focused on preventive medicine because I think the most important medicine is preventive medicine. So I like that a lot. Telling people about that, our food is not healthy anymore whatsoever. The soils, they're not having all these nutritions that we need. And so we really have to focus on healthy food. And I have other, I had techniques in my praxis, like manual medicine. I also like that, and various other things. So, and when I got pregnant, I closed my praxis, and I also stopped when my boy was, there to work in a private clinic. And I was 2 years with my boy. So I had the luck that in the second year, when I was staying at home, I could do online courses, and I became a herbalist. And of course, I did in-person courses in the nature with the teachers. It's not an online course if you study herbs, of course. And I became also a burnout prophylaxis coach and resilience, certified resilience trainer. So that was, all until 2020, and it was in the pandemic, and I have a 3.5-year-old son, and so I saw what was going on. So I called some friends and colleagues, and I said, we need to do something. And so we started to have our meetings, just secret Zoom calls. But then when they brought up the childhood vaccination, so-called vaccination, C19 vaccination for kids, we said, okay, we have to go public. And that's why I started an initiative. It's called We Show Our Faces, Wir zeigen unser Gesicht. And we started to do videos with doctors and lawyers doing 2-minute statements about what they think is, is probably dangerous. That time, that was May 2021, about the C19 jabs for kids. That time already warning about myocarditis, because we were hearing experts from around the world. And so that's pretty it. So we had this initiative started, and I became more and more active.
Now, there's a few things I'd like to explore and unpack around, A, the path that you've taken, and secondly, prior to the pandemic, and then the actions that the inspired action that you've taken during the pandemic. Let me address the first piece. You went to medical school. You've shared your profession and practice in preventative and functional and holistic medicine and health. Was that an inspiration for you prior to going down the medical route? Was that already a mission for you, or did that emerge over the course of your studies?
Yes, I saw so many people getting sicker and sicker, and autoimmune diseases rising and allergies rising in the last years. So I was like, we have to find out what's going on, have to look on the root causes. And I also did other various, also I went to teachers from Germany, for example, that would focus on our mental health, and then I found out that it is about how we think, how we feel, how we are, how we act, you know, that it's really important. And I found out that this is what helps people, you know. So I had to shift before the COVID pandemic situation that we need to come forward with a kind of new medicine with other approaches.
Now that we've witnessed everything that's happened during the course of COVID-19, I think the type of work that you've described is probably more important than ever. Why do you think there's a disconnect between what I would describe as this integrative medicine, where we're taking a preventative approach, a holistic approach to managing our health, and the traditional kind of allopathic medicine? Why is there a disconnect? And is there a way that we can harmonize the different practices?
Yeah, I'd say we really need to focus that people, you know, they have to take care about themselves. You know, there's nobody like when you go to a massage and you say, wow, my muscle is hard, I go to the guy who does a massage and then it's better. And the next time again, you know, you really have to find out what's making your muscle hard and what you can do about it, you know. So it is about self-responsibility, and a lot about self-responsibility in so many fields, but especially in the field of medicine. So if we make people aware that they can do the best to stay healthy, to get healthier, or, you know, to get better and better in their other fields of life, we can do that.
Yes, you mentioned the term resilience. I think our resilience, both physically and mentally, has been challenged during the pandemic. And to me, this has been a signal that we are not healthy as a species and that we have work to do. And to me, that's part of the reason, we've explored other reasons here at the conference, but part of the reason why we've had this reliance on pharmaceuticals is that we are sick, we are ill. Now, there's many other reasons we could explore, corporate interests, and maybe we'll come to that in a moment. Do you think this will be a catalyst for a health revolution?
Yes, I mean, it can be, and we really have to see. I mean, I found out that, you know, and so many doctors know that the pharmaceutical industry, big pharma, has a lot of impact about what is written in our textbooks. And there's no word about preventative medicine, no word whatsoever. And, you know, you don't know about different approaches, and there's like no course on medical university where you tell people how to relax so the parasympathicus can work more when we're all more in the sympathicus, you know. So you don't get that kind of information, and it's about the doctors after the studies trying to find all that knowledge. So I think there should be, you know, some rethinking in what we tell the future doctors to be, what makes people healthy and helps them in so many issues. And talking about resilience, so many people do not know what it is. And it's not like being resilient to stand on the street and say, resistance, you know, it is, resilience means, you know, the word is Latin, resiliare, and it means to bounce back, you know, it's like a ball, it's bouncing ball. And so you want to do something, and you go this way and you see, okay, it doesn't work that nice, find another way, wow, that's even a better way, you know. So that is like, this resilience is a feeling, and it's probably people are more resilient, or they got more resilient through various situations in their life before. But I think it's something you can feel, and you can find out, and then as soon as you find out, oh, okay, that's what makes my life easier, you'll get more into this feeling.
Excellent. Now, let's spring forward to where we are now. You've been working really hard from those initial Zoom meetings that you spoke of. Tell us a little bit about some of the highlights of what you've been able to do over the last couple of years. You know, you've really made a difference beyond your own nation. You know, you've been working incredibly hard.
I really hope so, because, you know, I somehow, let's say, I'm the one that speaks up for so many other doctors. And I did interviews, and I told in the interviews not only about the C19 jabs for kids, I was also talking about ivermectin, and I was talking about pregnant women. They should not be vaccinated at all. And, you know, we talk about childhood vaccination, and so often we forget to talk about, don't ever vaccinate a pregnant woman. So I was talking about that, and then of course I did interviews, and some interviews got, I think clicked for 300,000 times in a couple of days. So it happened that I was kicked out of a private clinic where I was working. The boss actually was a friend of mine who was bringing me from public university hospital into this private clinic and said, come on in, work with us. And there was this video, and I think he got a call and they said, kick her out. And on that day I had to leave. It was not like you work until the end of month and then you have to go. Really, that day I had to leave the clinic. And this video has now been clicked like 720,000 times meanwhile. So it really went viral in the German-speaking world in Europe. And I'm really proud that I did this video because I know I reached so many people. And of course, some, let's say, opponents also watched that video. It's not only like fans watching that video, if you know what I mean. And they did fact checks on me. And I even landed in this mainstream newspaper that's more like on the left side. And they said that I'm the figurehead, the Galionsfigur in German, of the anti-vaxxers. And I said, you know what? Proud of it, proud of it, honestly. So I said, okay, I'll do what I do because I think I'm on the right path. And as you know, in Austria, we had like crazy decisions done. This like C-19 mandatory vaccination was announced by the parliament in November. And so when that was announced, I said, okay, I'm out of here. So I left the medical board, the medical chamber. It's called Ärztekammer in Austria on the 19th of November. That was the date they announced it. And so at 11:59 p.m., I said, out of here, sent my email. Next day was a really big protest in Vienna. Many various organizations called people to come to Vienna. We are pretty sure we were more than 300,000 people. Of course, that's not what the mainstream media reported. And so I started to do speeches at rallies, and then I organized my own rallies with a mama bear friend, Nadja Hubmann, whom I really want to mention. She's an entrepreneur, mother of 2 boys. Lovely friend. And we started to do a whole new movement of doing and setting up these rallies. We had like a march, and then we were at the stage, and we brought in the German pathologist Burkhardt in a Zoom call, and it was like a congress. So people would go there and see this great pathologist talking about his findings. And then we had music, and then we had another doctor on stage, and again music. And talking about music, I think people had a really good feeling when they came to our rallies. And it's not like getting the jab and then you're allowed to go to a bar and listen to music and have a beer. Hey, come on in. We are allowed to have fun, and we are allowed to get connected more and more and more. And as you know, we even had the lockdown for the unvaccinated. So a demonstration in German, a rally, was always a reason you were allowed to, of course, leave the house, because this is still a right that we have. So we could do rallies, even in the lockdown for the unvaccinated.
And how is the situation in Austria now? Are you still suffering the consequences of those policies?
Yeah, of course, as every country, we're suffering that policies, and they had the lockdown for unvaccinated, I think, from November to January. And right now they put the mandatory vaccinations on ice. Before they said they would put it for the all 14 years and older. Then they said 18 years and older. So, the protest was a little smaller then. And right now they put that on ice, but until only 31st of May. So obviously from June on, there will be again the mandatory vaccination. And then you would have to pay a fine, 600 euro each quarter of a year if you're not going to get vaccinated.
Wow. So it's still a real looming threat. It's so difficult to comprehend. With the way things have unfolded in the United Kingdom. We've had challenges of our own with mandates, but the prospect of those types of mandates have seemingly for now subsided, at least. How long for, we'll see. But it's fascinating to hear that. And you've done some incredible work. Now, I'd like to close by asking you about the future.
Yeah.
We have to paint an optimistic, hopeful vision of tomorrow. What is your hope for the future that we can build off the back of work like this?
My hope is already, in a big setup, like in this Better Way conference, so many organizations joined in from around the world. People came here in person from around the world. And it is about initiatives joining forces, whatever the main topic is, we need to know who is our, let's say, opponent, and we know that there is like this Mr. Global thing going on here, and if we find that out, and if we, reach people and ask them, how are you feeling, and even if they got jabbed, we want to include them, and we are, this one human family, and we can of course reach out to more and more people, because we see people are getting tired, people are getting vaccine injured, so they come to us also if we say, hey, you are welcome, and we join forces, and I'm pretty sure it's not weeks, it's months and years, but we will build this, beautiful future for our kids together. I mean, there will be a really hard probably autumn, winter, because they will put out the mandatory vaccinations again, probably another, pandemics coming, and, probably another lockdown. But I'm pretty sure with this alliance of great organizations from around the world, we do our best to be there for our health and our kids, our future.
Thank you, Maria. Now, the last thing I'll ask you is, for those people who are curious to learn more about the campaigns that you do, where can people go and find more about the videos you've been making?
Yeah, we have the webpage, but it's in German, so it's wirzeigenunsergesicht.org, but I'm just setting up a webpage. It's called crowdresilience.org, so it will be set up by the end of June 2022.
Fantastic. I honor the work that you do. Thank you so much for being here with us on the Elevate podcast. The last thing I'll say to you is Glassbod.
Glassbod.
Thank you.